2018 third-round pick and fourth-round pick. Adam, let me start with you here. Does this give you the sense now that the Giants will be on the move with the number 2 pick?
No, I don't think that this trade has any bearing. I think this is more of a reflection of the Giants making a lot of different moves with a new general manager and Dave Gettleman, and then recognizing that they have a little bit of a ways to go here. Now, they shed JPP's salary here. It creates salary cap flexibility. It does create another need at the defensive end position if they want to go and look at Bradley Chubb in round 1. But the fact of the matter is the Giants here are shedding that payroll. They're getting back an added third-round pick. They're improving their pick in the 4th round here. And obviously the Giants now will look to start building parts with some younger players. JPP's 29. Tampa Bay had been desperately seeking a pass rusher. And you look at the Buccaneers defense, the starting defensive front. 3 new starters, 2 from Philadelphia, 1 from the Giants, 3 from the NFC East. So the NFC East has become the home of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defensive line, while they've also added Ryan Jensen on the offensive line. No secret what Tampa's trying to do, and I think no secret what the Giants are trying to do. Getting cheaper, saving some money, adding picks, getting younger, starting to remake that roster.
You know, in a year for me where free agency wasn't as fun or wasn't as long, we didn't have things happening on as many days, there's been so many moves and trades and veterans going to different teams, and I think that's what's made this thing interesting. People have been going with some of these known and proven commodities, but when you look at this team, the proven commodities are the linebackers. Mm-hmm. And Lewis spoke about it earlier on SportsCenter. Those are the guys you have to protect. Those are the guys that run sideline to sideline and make plays for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And so they went and got pass rush, and I think now we were kind of talking about some of those draft spots and where they sit. That is the Minkah Fitzpatrick area. That is the Denzel Ward area, the Derwin James area. And that's what you have to do. And if you're the Giants, you've made this the most interesting pick you've had in years. The thing is to use it in the correct way to better your team.
You know, I mean, speaking about the Giants again, one point we haven't really mentioned here is the fact that, look, when you have a new coaching staff coming in, they look at players much differently. There's always some kind of scheme change. There's always some kind of, manipulation from a schematic standpoint. And then how do you have the right players to fit into this? Think about James Betcher, who comes here now to the Giants. He runs really a modified 3-4. Okay, with 3 big down linemen, 3 bigger down linemen, and then 4 linebackers. When you think about JPP, he doesn't really fit in that scheme. He's not going to be a guy who's going to play a 5 technique, line up outside the tackle, or a 4 technique, head up on the tackle, and bang that way. That's not his deal. And he's not a stand-up 2-point guy who can rush like a Chandler Jones type. That's not really his thing. JPP is best with his hand on the ground, coming off the ball that way. What makes this interesting from a drafting standpoint is if you watch tape on Bradley Chubb, get what he does. He plays in a 2-point stance. He can play in a 3-4. He can be a big stand-up outside pass rusher who could really be one of those hybrid players that can move all over the place, like Chandler Jones does. So that's what makes it even more interesting that they go ahead and they go, look, maybe this guy really doesn't fit us. He may have some good value in a 4-3 scheme as a base defensive end for someone else. Right. But for us, we need kind of a little bit more of hybrid-type players on the outside. Calling Bradley Chubb. Let's just see. Let's just see. It just makes sense.
And Myles Garrett, and you are going where?
Well,
I think that
I don't those two?
Yes.
Look, you know what? My Twitter's already blowing up with people.
Yes,
is that a fault? Because I was wondering, I was like, man, what is this?
Twitter's already.
I realized you tweeted it.
That's because Twitter's always about athletes and always about, well, what was his vertical?
What does he look like with his shirt on?
I'll tell you this right now, though. Bradley Chubb, play for play, pound for pound, how they play the game, I'm taking Bradley Chubb all day long. All day long over Myles Garrett. Sorry.
Bang. There you go.
Well, we're done.
Let's stay.
Well,
hold on. Before we move on, you brought up the amount of trades that have occurred this offseason during this free agent period. Just want to kind of review this for one moment. Alex Smith, Marcus Peters, Robert Quinn, Michael Bennett, Tyrod Taylor, Jarvis Landry, Demarius Randall, Cordarrelle Patterson, Danny Shelton, JPP. Yeah. And that doesn't include the Cordy Glenn and the trade between the Jets and the Colts. That is a ton.
Absolutely.
A ton of players who have been traded in the last couple of weeks, officially starting when the league year began last Wednesday. Amazing.
Sure.
Let's talk Atlanta Falcons for just a second here as we go. We'll go NFC South. They really want to lock in Matt Ryan, of course. So Ryan enters the final year of a 5-year, $103 million extension that he had. So this will take him through 2018, but they're trying to get that next deal done. Here is GM Dimitroff on what's next.
I've never been concerned about that. I mean, I know that we have good conversations and have continued to have good conversations, and I'm not concerned about it. I don't know. There's no time frame on it right now. I think the biggest thing for them at one time was probably waiting to see what was going on in the market. That's kind of come and gone right now, right? So we'll continue to talk about how to get it finalized.
You take a look at where the money is stacking up for the quarterback. So it makes a little bit of sense. If you're Matt Ryan, you want to sit, you want to hang out, you want to wait. Seems like we keep replacing the highest paid guy with the next highest paid guy. It's just a matter of how long you can play that waiting game. We'll come to Adam Schefter with this one. Adam, where are the Atlanta Falcons on the Matt Ryan deal?
Well, they're not close right now. And the Kirk Cousins contract, I think, throws a little bit of a monkey wrench into it, because when Kirk Cousins gets 3 years and $84 million guaranteed, then Matt Ryan is surely going to say to the Atlanta Falcons, who he's taken to a Super Bowl, who he almost won a Super Bowl with. Well, Kirk Cousins, who hasn't won a playoff game, has gotten $84 million guaranteed. I want 84 guaranteed. I want 100 north of guaranteed. 84 guaranteed.
Well, north.
And so the Kirk Cousins contract impacts Matt Ryan. And by the way, again, not to boost the value of a player or anything, but what is the value of the Falcons? How has that gone up since Matt Ryan has been quarterback? Now, the value of franchises across the league has gone up. We're about to see the Carolina Panthers go for the nice tidy sum of in the range of $2.5 billion, which you talked about in December here. So
that's real money.
These quarterbacks are the key players. They're the face of the franchise. That's why it's so important for these teams to move up to the top of the draft, to do their due diligence, because these are the guys that are the face of a billion-dollar company.
But see, I used to wonder, right? So when you see Jimmy Garoppolo get this money, and then you see Kirk Cousins, I always wonder when Joe Flacco got his deal, when is an organization or an executive board or the GM going to say, you know what, just because you're the next guy doesn't mean you have to be the highest paid guy. And they keep doing it. And what keeps coming to mind for me in a more simplistic way is like when one of my close friends buys their wife something really nice. Right, and it's her birthday, and they come to my house, and she's bragging to her wife, because I know my wife's birthday is coming up, and I know she's gonna be looking like, hey, you know, Tory, for his wife's last birthday, and so that's what Matt Ryan was sitting at home doing, like, hey, you see what they doing over there in that marriage in Minnesota, right? You got to take care of me more. I've been here longer. I've done more things. And so he is right to ask for north of $84 million guaranteed, and he should get it.
Yeah. Let me ask you about it. I want to get you this, Louis. The guy's taking the guys buying their wives modest gifts, if you will. So you have a Tom Brady, a Drew Brees. They take pay cuts to try to go get championships. Now, nobody needs a championship more than Matt Ryan. He needs a championship where he needs another $10 million.
Yeah,
Pressure to get that kind of deal, Louis?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I've talked to some people about that. I've talked to contract negotiators about that. Like, do you see every subsequent quarterback who comes along now, who is a big-name player, just absolutely trying to hold their team hostage? And they don't believe it is that way necessarily. They believe that some of these guys will think and look at it differently, depending upon where they're at in their career, right? Look, this is Kirk Cousins' real first chance to break the bank with a big contract.
Right.
Tom Brady really, I'm not speaking for Tom Brady, but you would assume that he and Drew Brees right now are not looking at their situations where they have to break the bank. Obviously, they're not going to accept less than what Kirk Cousins got, ideally, but they're not also going to try and hold their team hostage.
Right.
Now, they're going to try and get compensated fairly. No one is going to sit there and go, hey, you know what? No, these guys are prideful people. They're going to want to be paid market value, but I think structure will be very important for most of these guys, because winning ultimately still is what drives these top echelon players. It just does. Money's important, but so my sense is that people aren't going to try and absolutely just blow the salary cap up, meaning these top quarterbacks. But hey, I'm not going to speak for any of these
the other
guys,
side too, when your agent calls you, right? Because the agent's always thinking about the next guy too, the next guy he's going to have up, and all these guys have quarterbacks. You know, he's going to hit you up like, hey, Matt, you got to get this money, you got to get some of it. So it's incumbent on these guys who understand they need to win to think team first as well. But Lou, you know, you're an independent contractor, right? You got to make sure you're made whole, and these guys will.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I'll tell you what, the relationship between player, agent, front office is going to be key too. So that's why, to me, the most interesting one, even more so than Matt Ryan's deal, the most interesting one is Green Bay.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Because
$200 million.
There's some tension going on.
There's no price there.
There's some tension going on.
$200 million.
That's a situation where, yeah, I've won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I've made a lot of money. But I'm a little bit perturbed about some things you've been doing with my roster.
Rodgers
how you've been treating
Ryan, Adam, which deal gets done first, in your opinion?
Well, I think right now, the Aaron Rodgers one, to Lou's point, is a more difficult deal to get done. He was not particularly enthralled with the way they handled his quarterback coach, Alex Van Pelt, and made it known. When do you ever hear a quarterback speak out in the way that he did about a coaching change that team had engaged in during the offseason? And then they go and cut their wide receiver, his favorite wide receiver, who they didn't even offer a pay cut to. They didn't even offer him the chance to keep him around Green Bay. They basically said, we're releasing you. And he goes and signs with Oakland. So now you've lost your most trusted wide receiver. You've lost your quarterback's coach. I'm just saying, I'm not doing my team any favors when they act that way with me, the way that he has made it sound like he feels.
It's new leadership there, though. There's new guys making decisions in that building. So some of those relationships aren't built yet. They don't have that Aaron walks into the office and we get to talk about these decision type things going on. And so, yeah, if you're Aaron, you got to get your dough.
And, you know, and that's a great point. But I tell you what, they better start making sure they have those relationships. Because, you know, in my time in the front office, whether it was in Washington when Joe Gibbs was there or in Philly with Andy, certain players were treated differently when you were making tough decisions. Now, certain players were like, hey, Andy be like, I got this one. I'm going to talk to this guy. He's going to come into my office. You're not going to handle this. The scouting department's not going to handle this. This is for me because this guy deserves a certain amount of respect. And
that's
it
how it should be
reverberates
run.
downstairs
That's
to the
how it
locker
should be
room.
run.
Because trust me, that guy, you go ahead and you just send us some kind of intern, not to disparage intern. You send an intern to cut Jordy Nelson and just say, hey,
problem?
We're
After
going to have
what
an
he's done
exit
for the
physical, and I'll tell you what, we'll take you to the airport. The locker room, he's going to go down there and talk to his guys in the locker room. They're going to be like, they treated you like what?
Is there any chance Aaron goes, you know what, I don't think I want to be in Green Bay anymore? Is there any chance?
I have no idea. I couldn't speak for Aaron Rodgers, but I'll tell you.
Well, it's 2 years remaining, and so we always have to remember that in this situation, the team has the leverage in that sense by what's left on his deal. But I think Aaron Rodgers would want to get a deal done there, but it's not like Adam said, he won't be doing them any favors because of the way not only they treated him, but they treated the people that he cared about in that organization.
Relationships, man. Relationships and respect, and they go together. They go together, and you're seeing it's taken teams to higher heights now when players have that with coaching staffs, and it will sink your organization quick if you don't respect those kinds of relationships. It was an Andy Reid mantra during my whole time in Philadelphia.
And so Louis Riddick mantra here at ESPN.
That's right. Darn right. The NFL catch rule, finally under review it is. We'll get to the verbiage of it, which kind of sounds like a lawyer wrote it. We're going to do that next.
Dropped it after he caught the touchdown. The officials will confer.
The receiver in the end zone did not survive the ground. It's an incomplete pass.